Hello, everyone. Today we will be going over kind of something I've been wanting to talk about for I guess for a while already. It's a translation thing. Specifically, it's gonna be about the KJV. Like, it's weirdly enough, I guess like weird for some people, weird. I guess weird for everybody because everyone kind of sees the KJV as like this absolutely like kind of perfect translation and like things of that nature, right? Like, and like you hear like this is the one translation where Christians will be like. Um, if you don't use the KJV, you are not saved. And then all of the translations are books are like translations of the devil, like and then ooh, they're taking out verses and like with the whole taking out verses, I'm gonna do that in another video, but today I'm gonna be focusing on like one specific topic um about the KJV, and that would be the whole idea of Sheol and Hades, or like the whole idea like going back to the video of what happens when we die. So of course, if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend it. It's called What Happens When We Pass Away on my channel. And basically I just go over like Sheol and Hades, and it just means like the grave. And we just go there with that. We're sleeping until the resurrection. We don't go to like heaven or hell when we die, because at that point, like think of it this way. If we die and we basically receive judgment of where we're going, so either we receive judgment, we're judged to go to heaven or judged to go to hell based on, earth. So then what's the point of judgment day? And really, what's the point of resurrection? You're alive more than ever. Like, there's really no point for it. And people like say, "Oh yeah, our souls are brought back to our bodies," but yeah, no, soul isn't separate. Also, another video I did, what is the soul biblically? It's not like some separate entity. They're like ghosts that kind of like woofs around while like are dead. It goes back up to heaven, or however people kind of try to explain it. But that's not really the topic of this video. I'm just here to show like the difference between these two translations, between the LSB and the KJV. And I've also said this before. I really do like the LSB. Like, it's actually a really good translation. Like, you reading, like if you read the Greek and compare it to this, it's actually really good. So that's why I recommend this one. And you've seen me read the KJV in the Genesis 1 video. If you haven't, welcome. But yeah, I did read Genesis 1 in the KJV. And I really have no problems with it, but it's just like this is more specifically like towards the people who like kind of treat it as like only read this one, or like you're reading like a devil's translation, those kind of people who take it to the extreme. Because again, that's not exactly how it works. So I'm gonna start like comparing, and this is gonna be about Sheol and Hades basically. So I just, like I said, I do want to show it. So first would be Genesis 37:35. In the KJV, we read, "And all his sons and all his daughters rose up to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, For I will go down into the grave unto my son mourning. Thus his father wept for him. And the Midianites sold him into Egypt unto Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh's and captain of the guard." So this is when Joseph got sold out by his brothers. So verse 35 in the LSB. So left is going to be LSB, right is going to be KJV. So it says, Then all his sons and all his daughters arose to comfort him, but he refused to be comforted. And he said, Surely I will go down to Sheol in mourning for my son. So his father wept for him. So they thought he was dead. That's why he said he would go down to Sheol in mourning for my son. So he would go down to the grave in mourning for his son, because again, they thought he was dead. So again, the KJV says grave also. So it's not like Sheol is like some different thing. Like, no, Sheol and Hades just mean the grave. And of course, you can look this up if you don't believe me. So I'm just gonna like I have a bunch of verses listed on my right. So if you see me like kind of like look this way, you're gonna see I'm looking at those verses that I have like written down because I'm not gonna remember all of these. So the first one would be 2 Samuel 22:6, where we read. So I'm gonna go LSB first and then KJV. So I'm just gonna do that as like the theme if you can't see. So yeah, LSB first, then KJV. So verse 6, the cords of Sheol surrounded me, the snares of death confronted me. In my distress, I called upon Yahweh, and I called out to my God, or called to my God. And out of his temple he heard my voice, and my cry for help he came into his ears. Then the earth shook and quaked, the foundations. Oh, we don't need to keep going. But oh, what does it say Sheol again? Um. No. Okay. So we could just focus on verse 6. The cords of Sheol surrounded me, the snares of death confronted me. So then now we read the KJV. Now it says, the sorrows of hell compassed me about, the snares of death prevented me. So now I'm going to be going into like really like now it's starting to give like a big difference. And this really, I don't know if I wrote it down, but for the whole idea of Jesus, actually I think I did write it down, so I could just wait. And if it's not in one of the ones that I wrote down that I'm just gonna talk about at the end. But yeah, so you're starting to see that kind of depends on like I guess the context, but they use the same word Sheol in the Old Testament, but the KJV will sometimes say hell, which is like a big misunderstanding. And to be honest, I'm not really sure why, because it was made around the same time as the Reformation, I believe. So like during those like 1500s, 1600s was for the NKJV, I think. I don't remember. Unless the 1600s was for the KJV, but yeah, I don't really understand why like this kind of happened. But yeah, now you're starting to see like a difference if you can see it. If not, I'll read right now. Job 11 verse 8. They are as high as the heavens, what can you do? Deeper than Sheol, what can you know? And verse 8 in the KJV, it is as high as heaven, what canst thou do? Deeper than hell, what canst thou know? So again, knowing that Sheol and Hades means the grave, and that's just the temporary place of where you go when you die, your body's in the grave, that's all it is. Um, you are in the grave. You're sleeping till resurrection. So again, that's all Sheol and Hades is. Then why is the KJV saying hell? Like again, this is a transliteration. So literally, it's the Hebrew word that's used in the Hebrew Bible. It's Sheol. So LSB just takes it and then puts it in here just to really just make things easier. So yeah. So you're gonna start to see like this kind of theme. Like I did as much as I can to really emphasize this that the KJV really like does describe Sheol and Hades as hell, which is a bit like odd to say the least. So then we read Job 26 verse 6 where it says naked is Sheol before him and Abaddon has no covering. And then verse 6 in the KJV, hell is naked before him and destruction hath no covering. So again, naked is Sheol before him and in the KJV naked hell is naked before him. So I really like was confused when I read this because I was like, hey, like, it's a bit odd because I saw a video. It was like an old one, but I just found it weird that it was talking about what was it? Oh yeah, it was what happened with Jesus when he died. So then, the pastor, the guy who made the video, he kind of took it in as like, oh, since we go to heaven when we die, we could read it under their light. And then that verse of you will not forsake my soul to Hades. The KJV says you will not forsake my soul to hell, and he is the KJV onlyist. So then you have to take it in that light. So it's a bit, it's a bit odd. So then it kind of goes into like, oh, did he go to hell or not? Or did he go straight to heaven when he died? So it's like, then it leads to this whole like weird thing because he didn't go to either of those places. He went to Sheol, Hades, the grave. He was in the tomb for 3 days and 3 nights. Like as soon as he resurrected, he said, "For I have not ascended to the Father." So he literally did not go up to heaven yet. Like so, but that's a whole other topic. Next verse would be Psalm 9:17, where we can read first in the LSB. The wicked will return to Sheol, even all the nations who forgot God. Then we read verse 17 in the KJV. The wicked shall be turned into hell, and all the nations that forget God. So again, says Sheol when the Bible says God. So it's a bit I guess in a sense like why kind of thing because like again I'll do it right now just so we can make this easier. Sheol, the Hebrew underworld, abode of the dead. It's oh here's like an article but yeah, same thing. Translation, yeah, literally just grave. Well, not the NIV but it just means the grave for everything, like everywhere, everything. It just means grave, like ordinary grave or crypt. It's not hell. It's not. And it's not its own like special place. It's just what it is. Like it's just the ground, the grave. You could go there alive. Like you just dig a hole and just lay down. Like that's Sheol. That's literally all it is. So it's like, um, I don't know why the KJV describes it as hell. And again, this isn't like me like necessarily hating on it, but I have to point it out because like, this is a big misunderstanding. It's like, it's a big misunderstanding in the sense like, the idea that we go to heaven or hell when we die. And like, in the video that I did really go in depth about this, we really did establish that you don't go to heaven or hell when you die. That's just what it's really just a man-made tradition or man-made like thought process or doctrine, I should say. So yeah, again, no slight. It's not a primary issue. It's just like one of those things where it's like a big misunderstanding. Like it's kind of something that most people believe. But yeah, next verse would be Psalm 16:10, where it says, "For you will not forsake my soul to Sheol. You will not give your Holy One ever to see corruption." So this is the one I was talking about. Yeah, your Holy One is obviously talking about Jesus. You will not give your Holy One to see corruption. So obviously, just leave him there, like in Sheol, where his body corrupts. He wasn't there. So yeah, then reading the KJV. For thou wilt not leave my soul in hell, neither wilt thou suffer thine Holy One to see corruption. So yeah, and whoever wrote Psalm 16, I actually don't remember who wrote Psalm 16. It's either gonna be hmm, who wrote Psalm 16. Um. Okay, King David. Okay, so this is David talking. This actually makes this a lot easier. If David is the one talking in Psalm 16, why is he saying, "For thou wilt not leave my soul in hell, neither wilt thou see in thy Holy One to see corruption"? My flesh also rests in hope because, again, you could just say, "Oh, it's just because he's, um, God really did, love him. Like he was one after God's own heart." Like you could just leave it to that, sure. But I still ask, why is it translating the grave and Sheol as hell? It's weird. I really do find it weird because it's like that's not what it means. Like it's just like it makes me wonder if it is like a purposeful like mistranslation or not. Like that's what I mean. I'm not gonna like start hating on the KJV or anything because I still really do like it and I do use it at times, just like how I use the NKJV at times as well. Like those are really the only two translations I use. I use the LSB, NKJV, and KJV, and I'm still gonna use it, but it's just you have to understand like when things like this happen, you have to be able to really kind of like accept it or like even for me, this was weird for me because I really do like it. So this was weird for me when I first read it, but I kind of do just like want to make this video to point it out basically and really just kind of like make it clear about the whole Sheol Hades thing. So yeah, then we go to over to Psalm 18:5, where it says, "The cords of Sheol surrounded me, the snares of death confronted me." Then verse 5 in the KJV, "The sorrows of hell compassed me about, the snares of death prevented me." And then in distress I called my. So this is basically like a reference to the Samuel verse that we went over, the second Samuel verse. So yeah, it's just like there's a lot of examples. So I'm gonna kind of just start flying through these because, like I said, there's there's a lot. So then we go to Psalm 55:15, where it says, "Let death come deceitfully upon them, let them go down alive to Sheol, for evil is in their dwelling in their midst. As for me, I shall call upon God, and Yahweh will save me." So then, in the KJV, "Let death seize upon them, and let them go down quick into hell, for wickedness is in their dwelling and among them. As for me, I will call upon God, and the Lord shall save me." So, yeah, it's just more and more of of that. Like it's really just kind of like a rinse and repeat. I guess if I like really wanted to like kind of make this short, I could like cut out a bunch of these that I'm not using. But I think um it would be better if I kind of just did all of these just to like really make this clear. Because like I said, there's a lot of KJV only, and there's nothing wrong with like I guess being like KJV only, but at the same time, it's like you're not gonna know when things like this happen with this whole Sheol hell stuff. You're not gonna know that like hell is just the wrong word for it. And then like I said, it's not really a problem. It's not a primary issue, but it's just a big, big, big misunderstanding that like like if you really like are like accepting of like in cases where this can be wrong, the KJV, then I say just accept it with open arms because at the end of the day, if you really want like the fullness of truth and like the fullness of what was actually written, I would just say learn ancient Hebrew and ancient like, Greek. Like I'd just be like do that. The KJV isn't going to be like the only translation that everyone should be absolutely reading because again, if you want to read the full truth, read it in Greek and Hebrew. It will make life a lot easier. You could just be like, oh, but in Hebrew it says this, or oh, in Greek it says this. Even I do that in my videos sometimes to really establish like kind of the point because again, that was the original language. So translations, things can get messed up. So like here, things get messed up. So move on to Psalm 86:13. So it says, "For your loving kindness toward me is great, and you have delivered my soul from Sheol below." And then in the KJV, verse 13, "For great is thy mercy toward me, and thou hast delivered my soul from the lowest hell." So again, if you kind of just look who wrote Psalm 86. David. He wrote Psalm 86 as well. Then you ask why did why does he say that thou hast delivered my soul from the lowest hell? Like he would never go there. Like it's just it's very odd that it was translated this way. So it's kind of more of the same that I've said. It's really like shouldn't shouldn't be there if I'm being honest. Like it should not say hell. It really shouldn't. But then we go on to Psalm 113 or 113, 116:3. Then we read, the cords of death encompassed me, and the distresses of Sheol found me. I found distress and sorrow. Then I called upon the name of Yahweh. O Yahweh, I beseech you, provide my soul escape. Gracious Yahweh and righteous, and our God is compassionate. Yahweh keeps the simple. Okay. Then reading the KJV, the sorrows of death encompassed me, and the pains of hell gat hold upon me. I found trouble and sorrow. Then called I upon the name of the Lord. O Lord, I beseech thee, deliver my soul. So yeah. Um, I am kind of running out of things to say because it really is just oops, a rinse and repeat. So yeah, I really am kind of running out of things to say because there really isn't that much to say because like if you understand the difference between hell and Sheol slash Hades, then this is just all gonna like be like this is all gonna be like weird. Like it's gonna strike us as weird. It struck me as weird at least. So then, Psalm 139, verse 8, if I ascend to heaven, you are there. If I make my bed in Sheol, behold, you are there. Then, verse 9 in there, verse 8. In the KJV, if I ascend up into heaven, thou art there. If I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there. Again, if you look up who wrote Psalm 139, I don't know if it is. No, no, it was David. Okay. Then yeah, you could just say, "Hey David, why are you talking about if I make my bed in hell, behold, thou art there?" It's like, of course, it is a poem, just kind of referencing, God's presence and Him being with us. Like that is the theme of like these poems. Yeah, where can I go from your spirit? Like He's everywhere. He's omnipresent. That's basically the theme of it of Psalm 139. Again, I would really recommend you read Psalms as a whole. It's a lot of chapters, but great, fantastic book. But yeah, just showing this whole translation stuff that it is kind of like why is it really there? And it keeps going. I mean, we're going literally from the earliest I could find Sheol-ish, and then we're just gonna go down like far, like as far as I can. Like I even have Habakkuk in here and Amos. So it's like, it's a bit I don't know, it's a lot. So it's like there's a lot of these that do that. So yeah, we move on to Proverbs 5:5, where it says, her feet go down to death, her steps take hold of Sheol, lest she watch the path of life, her tracks are unstable, she does not know it. So then verse 5 in the KJV, her feet go down to death, her steps take hold on hell. So it's like, yeah, it's a warning against adultery. Also Proverbs. I think if I were to recommend books for like new Christians or like for believers to read. Like if you are a new Christian, or even if you're an unbeliever, I do believe Proverbs and Ecclesiastes are very humbling books. Humbling in the sense that it kind of shows us like what we really are and like in every way. Like we're sinners, like we need God. Like that's really the themes. Like I really do love these. And they're very practical like chapters books like it's a lot of practicality, like things you can like really, really take into the real world. Like you could just read it at face value and then be like, oh, okay, I can, that makes sense. Like they're really great books. Like I really do love Proverbs and Ecclesiastes. More Proverbs, I think. And I think if I had a favorite book, it would be Proverbs as well as Romans. Oh, and Ephesians. Those are like my top three. They're beautiful books. So probably be Proverbs, Ephesians and then Romans is like if I had to give like my top three, and I would say like if you want to read it in that way, I think that would also work as well because you have like Proverbs, which is very like practical and humbling, and then you have Ephesians, which talks about like being saved, and also Romans does as well, and like kind of establishes salvation like fully, and then you could read like First John that talks about like eternal security. So yeah, great, fantastic books. But yeah, now we're at Proverbs 7 verse 27, where it says, "The ways to Sheol are in her house, descending into the chambers of death." Again, the ways to Sheol are in her house. And then in hell, her house is the way to hell, going down to the chambers of death. It's very very big misunderstanding. And if like even for the people who like really want to like defend the idea that we go somewhere when we die, or that even if they want to make the argument that Sheol is hell, I don't know why you would do that. But if you want to make the argument that we still go to like heaven or hell when we die, be like, go ahead. I mean, it's not a primary issue, like I've said. You really can't disagree if you want to, but I'm here to read, the biblical truth. Like this is the biblical truth at the end of the day. Sheol means grave. Like if you wanted to say it means hell, like that's not what it means. Like I'll say that with a straight face, and of course in love. I'm not trying to be like mean about it, but it's just like, either, that's the truth. I kind of just have to say it like that. So then Proverbs 9, verse 18, but he does not know that the dead are there, that those she called are in the depths of Sheol. Then we read in the KJV, but he knoweth not that the dead are there, and that her guests are in the depths of hell. So yeah, really more of the same, to be honest. So kind of in between these, looking for chapters and like, if I like don't have anything to say, I'm kind of just like giving random stuff. Like for example, like the books you should read or like great books to start with. And yeah, so now we're at Proverbs 15:11, where it says, Sheol and Abaddon lie open before Yahweh. How much more the hearts of the sons of men? A scoffer does not love one who reproves him. He will not go to the wise. A glad heart makes a face look good. But when a heart is pained, the spirit is broken. So verse 11 in the KJV, hell and destruction are before the Lord. How much more than the hearts of the children of men? So yeah. Again, they translate it as hell when it's just not what it means. Because we already looked it up already, like we could just look up Sheol translation and it just means grave. So then my question would be like, why oh you can also look at verse 24 and I'll think about it. Yeah. The path of life leads upward for the one who has insight, that he may turn away from Sheol below. And then the way of life is above to the wise, that he may depart from hell beneath. Again, like why are you gonna depart from hell if you are this is talking about like, the wise. This is talking about the Christians, or at least old Christians. Yeah, this is talking about like a wise man. So again, those wise men, according to Christianity and the Bible and God, they shouldn't be going to hell to begin with. Even if you wanted to be like, oh yeah, like if you even under that view that we go somewhere when we die, the believer shouldn't be anywhere near hell at the end of the day. We should be nowhere near there. So yeah, it kind of something I thought about right now. It's like regardless of like if you want to see it in one way or another, no believer or Christian or like wise men according to God should be going to hell. Like, it doesn't make any sense because that's not even the traditional way that it's seen. So then again, Proverbs 23:14, it says, You shall strike him with the rod and deliver his soul from Sheol. So again, he will deliver his soul from Sheol. So again, this is talking about what Yahweh is gonna do. So when you read Proverbs 23:15 in the KJV, it says, or 14, sorry. Thou shalt beat him with the rod and shall deliver his soul from hell. Again, it's like that. It's a bit odd, when it's talking about God saving people. It doesn't really make sense. The only way you can really make sense out of this is like when the Bible talks about like, while you were dead in your dead in your sins and transgressions, like we are all destined for hell. Our lives, our souls are destined for hell because of our sinful nature by default, and then God saves. That's kind of how you have to interpret this. Which I mean, like I said, um, you can like I'm not like I already made the video. It's like I can say it as many times as I want, but if you really like just hate the idea of that we go to Sheol or we go to the grave when we die, like, and you want to believe that we go somewhere when you die, like um, you can, but it's just like that's how I would interpret it if I was under that view. Again, no hate at all. Like I'm saying this in love. Then we move on to Proverbs 27, verse 20, where it says, Sheol and Abaddon are never satisfied, so the eyes of man are never satisfied. So then, verse 20 in the KJV, hell and destruction are never full, so the eyes of man are never satisfied. So really, dang, I still have a lot left. Well, let's do it just to get the point across as much as possible. So now we're in Isaiah 5:14, I think. Yeah. Therefore Sheol has enlarged its throat or appetite and opened its mouth without limit. again, for all the people in the grave, Of course, it's symbolic or figurative. It's not exactly like the grave will literally open its throat. Like, it's not exactly how it works. So then we go to verse 14 in the KJV. Therefore, hell hath enlarged herself and opened her mouth without measure in their glory and their multitude and their pomp. And he that rejoiceth shall descend into it. So, and the mean man shall be brought down, and the mighty man shall be humbled, and the eyes of the lofty shall be humbled. But the Lord of hosts shall be exalted in judgment, and that is holy shall be sanctified in righteousness. So again, this is actually really good if you wanted to argue about the whole, or if you wanted to prove the whole, we don't go to hell or when we die, because again, there's literally nothing that says anything about fire. It says that they'll be humbled, and then judgment. Because then what does Hebrews say? That man is to live one life, then comes judgment. We're in the Sheol, the grave, until resurrection, and then judgment. Some get the resurrection of life, some get the resurrection of eternal judgment. That's also what the Bible says. So this will be really good if you wanted to make the argument for going somewhere when you die. The only place you go is Sheol. It's not it's not heaven or hell, because then this verse makes no sense, because there's like nothing that talks about any type of fire. Which is, the traditional view that heaven is fire and brimstone. I mean, that's what hell is, fire and brimstone, but no one's there yet. It's not like the devil sitting there with a pitchfork or anything. Like, it's such a traditional, or not traditional, it's such a man-made thing. The whole devil sitting in a chair, hot place full of red, with a pitchfork, like that whole thing. That's so Hollywoody. But, yeah. Then we move on to Isaiah 15. Oh, wrong one. 14, my bad. 9, 9? Yeah. 9. So it says, Sheol from beneath trembles excitedly over you to meet you when you come. It awakens for you the spirits of the dead, all the leaders of the earth. So again, the spirits of the dead, all the leaders of the earth. It raises all kings of the nations from their thrones. They'll answer, say to you, even you have been made weak as we, you have become like us. Your pride and the music of your harps have been brought down to Sheol. Maggots are spread out as your bed beneath you, and worms are you covering. Literally, that's just what's, when you're in dirt, when you're in the grave, the ground, you're you're around the maggots and the worms. That's what being under really in the dirt means. Like, your worms and maggots are your neighbors, because that's where they live. They live in the dirt. Hell isn't where, maggots and worms are just chilling. Unless you really wanted to take out of context where the worm does not die and the fire is not quenched. Like, you have to take that really out of context, because even then, that's not even what that verse means, the worm does not die thing. But yeah. Also in verse 15, nevertheless, you will be brought down to Sheol, to the recesses of the pit. And when you read in the KJV, you have 15 and 9. So first we'll read 9 in the KJV. Hell from beneath is moved for thee to meet thee at thy coming. It stirreth up the dead for thee, even all the chief ones of the earth. So this is again up the dead for thee. This is talking about everyone who dies. And also the thrones, it's literally, again, everyone. It's not just unbelievers, and it's not just believers. Everyone goes to Sheol slash Hades when we die. Then we move on to verse 15 in the KJV. Yet thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. So again, it's just it. If I'm being real, it is a mistranslation. But yeah, we move. So then we move on to Isaiah 28:15, where it says, because you have said, we have cut a covenant with death, and with Sheol we have made a pact, the overflowing scourge will not reach us when it passes by, for we have made falsehood our refuge, and we have hidden ourselves with lying. Therefore, thus says Yahweh, behold, I am laying in Zion. Let's talk again. Um, so verse 14 in the KJV, it says, wherefore hear the word of the Lord, ye scornful men that rule this people which is in Jerusalem. Because ye have said, we have made a covenant with death, and with hell we at agreement. When the overflowing scourge shall pass through, it shall not come unto us. So yeah, just keep going. But yeah, more of the same. Keeps translating Sheol as hell, and we already did it, but let's just do it again just to make sense. Sheol translation. Just means grave. That's it. Yeah, see, Sheol is the unseen realm of the dead. Destination of both righteous and wicked until the final resurrection. It described as below the earth, always receiving, never satisfied. So yeah, that's not hell. Like, That's absolutely not what it is. If everyone goes there, that's not hell, because then everyone would go to hell. And obviously we know that's not what happens. Even if you wanted to take the view of we go to heaven when we die, that's absolutely not the view. And they would agree with me as well that that's not how or what happens when you die under that view. So then move on to Isaiah 57:9, where it says, you have journeyed to the king with oil and increased your perfumes. You have sent your envoys a great distance and made them go down to Sheol. Now verse 9 in the KJV. And thou wentest to the king of with ointment and didst increase thy perfumes and didst send thy messengers far off and didst debase thyself even unto hell. So again, more hell. So then now we are done with Isaiah and we're going to Ezekiel 31. And then after we go to 32. So 31:16, where it says, I made the nations quake at the sound of his downfall when I made it go down to Sheol with those who go down to the pit, and all the trees of Eden, the choicest and best of Lebanon, all the well-watered ones were comforted in the earth beneath. They also went down with it to Sheol to those who were slain by the sword, and those who were its strength lived under its shade among the nations. And then it keeps going, but yeah, Egypt will be brought down to Sheol. See, lightly all of Egypt got brought down. KJV 4 verses 16. Okay. I made the nations to shake at the sound of his fall when I cast him down to hell with them that descend into the pit, and all the trees of Eden, the choice and best of Lebanon, all that drink water, shall be comforted in the nether parts of the earth. They also went down into hell with him, unto them that be slain with the sword, and they that were his arm, that dwelt under his shadow in the midst of the heathen. So, yeah, I mean, at this point, we are kind of just going through it just to really get like the point across because it's a lot, like a lot of the same that it just does that. And for the people who do like kind of are like KGB onlyists and be like they would say my translation is not my translation. The LSB is wrong for the way they translated Sheol, but again, it's a transliteration. They take the word Sheol and they just slap it on here. That's literally all they do. They don't touch the meaning. They don't try to translate it. They just leave it. And the KJV does it a few times. Not even just that Genesis verse. There's like a couple other ones where it says the grave where you were going instead of Sheol where you were going, and like in Ecclesiastes. But in a bunch of other places, in the same places where he uses Sheol in the Hebrew Bible, it it says hell in here. So it really strikes me as odd. Like I said, it's just very odd to me. So Ezekiel 32:27, nor do they lie beside the fallen mighty ones of the uncircumcised, who went down to Sheol with their weapons of war, and whose swords were put under their heads, but the punishment for their iniquity rested on their bones. Though the terror of these mighty ones was once in the land of the living. And then we go look at the KJV 32:27. And they shall not lie with the mighty that are fallen of the uncircumcised, which are gone down to hell with their weapons of war, and they have laid their swords under their heads, but their iniquities shall be upon their bones, though they were of terror of the mighty in the land of the living. Yeah, that should be okay. Yeah. So, yeah, again, like I'm sure if you read the context, it would make even more sense, but I'm just going through these, like, even out of context, like, just really to make this make sense, like, or just to get the point across, also for time's sake, because otherwise, if I went through the context for every single one of these, we we would be here forever. So again, if you really are curious about the whole Sheol Hades topic, I would say go watch that video, the what happens when we pass away, because it would really make this video make more sense as to why I'm comparing the two and why it's not hell. But yeah, now we're on Amos chapter 9 verse 2, where it says, though they dig into Sheol, from there will my hand take them, and though they ascend to heaven, from there will I bring them down. So yeah, bring them down, Sinful Israelites will die with swords. Yeah. It's a little bit odd, but yeah. And then now verse 2, though they dig into hell, then shall mine hand take them, though they climb up to heaven, thence will I bring them down. So again, this verse specifically, you could make the argument that though they ascend to heaven, from there I'll bring them down. Like, you could try to be like, oh, see, they ascend to heaven, they go to heaven when they die. You can make the argument. I mean, when it comes to Amos, this Amos verse specifically, I can do. I can do a video on it, I guess. I can, if anything, I can do a video on like common objections to this, like the whole idea of going to the grave when we die instead of Sheol. I can of course do that, but yeah, anyways, I'll explain after. Jonah 2 verse 2, where it says, "And he said, I called out of my distress to Yahweh, and he answered me. I cried for help from the belly of Sheol, you heard my voice." And then and said in the KJV, and said, I cried by reason of mine affliction unto the Lord, and he heard me. Out of the belly of hell cried I, and thou heardest my voice. So again, it's um this is literally about Jonah. So this is Jonah's prayer while he was in the stomach of the fish. So again, he's not in hell. Yeah, so literally, Sheol just means the realm of the dead. So the grave, realm of the dead, yeah, where everyone goes when they die. So again, from there, from the Sheol view, it makes a lot of sense. But in this view, out of the belly of hell cried I, like it's just him in hell. Like Jonah didn't go to hell and then come back out. Like that's obvious, not obviously, but of course that's not what happened. But I was gonna say I could do a video on objections of going to Sheol when we die, because like but not specifically exceptions. Like I'm not gonna, I did a video on Enoch, but then I deleted it because I find it to be very trivial. That's why I deleted it, and I was like, it's a very trivial matter. Like, and I didn't change my opinion on it, but I just find it a lot more trivial because people really want to make the arguments like, oh, but he's the exception. I'd be like, okay, cool, he's the exception, but that's not the rule for everybody else. Like, not everybody's gonna have the same, fate as him, obviously. So, yeah. Now we look at Habakkuk 2 verse 5, where it says, and indeed, wine betrays the haughty man so that he does not stay at home. He enlarges his appetite like Sheol, and he is like death, never satisfied, which kind of is a parallel to that verse that we saw that it opens his throat wide and it's never satisfied. And then we look at Habakkuk 5 or 2, what is it? 5. Yeah, also because he has transgressed by wine, transgresseth by wine. He is a proud man, neither keepeth at home, who enlargeth his desire as hell, and is as death, and cannot be satisfied, but gathereth unto him all nations, and heapeth unto him all people. Shall not all these take up a parable against him with a taunting proverb again? Oh, I'm going. Anyways, yeah, it's more of the same, and yeah, there is one, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight, nine verses in the New Testament. So let's go. Now it's gonna say Hades, and it again it just means the same thing. It just means the grave. It's just the Greek version of it, since the Old Testament, of course, was written in Hebrew and the New Testament in Greek. So yeah, that's why there's a difference. So Matthew 11 verse 23, where it says, "In Capernaum, will you be exalted to heaven? You will descend to Hades. For if the miracles had occurred in Sodom which occurred in you, it would have remained to this day." So then we look at verse 23, and thou, Capernaum, which art exalted unto heaven, shall be brought down to hell. For if the mighty works which have been done in thee had been done in Sodom, it would have remained until this day. So yeah, again, you will descend to Hades. It's where we go. Hades is not hell. It just means the grave. You can even just look up Hades. Hades translation Bible. Yeah, literally. Translation is exactly the word Sheol. So again, realm of the dead. It's the same thing. So I just kind of remember that as we like go now that we're in Hades, because a lot of people think that Hades means hell. So this is like where most of the idea comes from, that like we go like, or that people go down to hell or like things of that nature, because people usually treat Hades as like hell. So yeah, but reading this, we know it's not. And then if someone were to ask me, oh, why? And I'd be like, okay, the Bible tells me so. That's it. So then we look at Matthew 16:18, where it says, and I also say to you that you are Peter, and upon this rock I'll build my church, and the gates of Hades will not overpower it. I will give you the keys of the kingdom of heaven, and whatever you bind on earth shall have been bound in heaven, and whatever you loose on earth shall have been loose loosed in heaven. And then he warned the disciples that they should tell no one that he was the Christ. So yeah, again, um, The gates of Hades will not overpower it. The gates of basically the gates of death will not overpower it again. The whole blessed hope that we're looking for is the second coming of Christ. And what happens when Christ comes? Then we look at John 5, all who are in the tombs will hear my voice and come forth, which is the resurrection. So our hope is the resurrection, and the gates of death, again, will not overpower it. We will not stay dead forever. The believers will not stay dead forever, and we will be resurrected to a resurrection of eternal life. So, and that's really the beauty of it. Like that's why I love not necessarily love, but it just makes so much more sense with the whole idea of going to the grave because it's just a temporal state. Going to heaven, singing praises forever and ever. There's no point for a resurrection or judgment because you're already judged and taken somewhere. Or there's no need for you to go back to your body if your soul is singing forever and ever, which, obviously, if you had a ghost entity, you can't exactly sing. So I don't know how that would work. So yeah, and like the whole thing is like very funky. Like if you really wanted to like nitpick absolutely everything, you could find a good amount of contradictions in there. Even like I have a bunch like on hand like that I could just talk about, but it's not really the point of this video. So Luke 16 verse 23, and in Hades he lifted up his eyes, being in torment, and saw Abraham far away and Lazarus in his bosom. This is the rich man and Lazarus, right? Yeah. So yeah, he was carried away. This one I can kind of just skip over because this is a parable. The rich man and Lazarus is its own video, honestly. So this one I think I'm gonna skip. I don't know why I wrote this down. But yeah, if anyone wants me to go over the rich man and Lazarus parable, I can gladly do that. But for this video, we are not gonna go over that. And that doesn't mean like I'm scared of it or that I proved something wrong like in this um like in the fact that we go to Sheol or Hades when we die, like it doesn't. But I'm just gonna save that for another time. So Acts, oops, why did I put Acts 27? It's Acts 2. Acts 2 and then verse 27. And then we go and read. Because you will not forsake my. So this is talking about this is the reference to what David said in Psalms. Um because you will not forsake my soul to Hades, nor give your Holy One over to see corruption. So this is exactly the same exact thing. It's a reference. So this one as well is like self-explanatory because we talked about it already. For thou wilt not leave my soul in hell, neither wilt thou suffer thine holy one to see corruption. So yeah, it's we already talked about it. So this one we can also kind of just go over. And verse 31. Yeah. He looked ahead and spoke of the resurrection of the Christ, that he was neither forsaken to Hades, so he wasn't left to Hades, the realm of the dead. He wasn't left there forever, nor did his flesh see corruption because of his divine nature. This Jesus God raised up again, to which we are all witnesses, and then exalted to the right hand of God. Okay, yeah. But oh, for David did not ascend into the heavens. Well, he didn't go to heaven when he died. It's actually well, that's very self-explanatory. I just noticed that right now. Um, anyways, uh, yeah. So we look at verse 31. He was neither left to the grave, neither did his flesh see corruption. So he wasn't just left in the tomb to have his body technically rot in a sense, because that's what happens to our bodies. They decompose. I mean, we've all been in science class and we like, like understand what happens. So his wasn't left like that because again, his divine nature was still there, and he wasn't left there to just rot. He was brought back from the dead. He raised himself from the dead. Well, Trinity works together in there. But yeah, then we read in the KJV verse 31. He's saying this, he's before spake of the resurrection of Christ, that his soul was not left in hell again. So if you were someone who thought or believed that Hades is hell, or that you only go to heaven or hell when you die, you would have to believe that Jesus went to hell. But he didn't suffer. He didn't suffer for our sins either. So he just went down there, chilled there because he didn't get burned at all under that view. And then he just came back up. So nothing really happened. He just went down there, said hello, and then raised himself from the dead. That's basically how it would work in the heaven or hell view. So it's like I said, it's very it's I don't know. It's odd to me for that same reason because under that view it doesn't make sense if I'm being honest. But then we move on to Revelation 1, 18, and it says, "And the living one, and I was dead, and behold, I am alive forever and ever, and I have the keys of death and of Hades." Is this the Son of Man? His feet, if I felt his feet like a dead man, he places right. Yeah, okay, this is Jesus, I believe. Yeah, the Son of Man. Okay, so this is the vision of Jesus. So, um, yeah, so Jesus is the one who has the keys of death and Hades, so he has the keys of death and the grave. So again, and then you read later that Hades gave up all that was in them. So, um, yeah, Hades gave up all the dead that was in it, both believers and unbelievers. So it's not just for the unbelievers, because again, it's not hell, like it says in the KJV verse 18. I am he that liveth and was dead, and behold, I am alive forevermore. Amen, and have the keys of hell and of death. So yeah, again, it's very misleading. But Revelation 6 and to be honest though, I think I'm just not gonna go over Revelation because that's just one of those books where it's like I don't like taking verses out of there because it's extremely symbolic and one of the hardest books to really kind of like interpret. And that just starts arguments left and right. So I think I'm just gonna leave Revelation there. Like going over Revelation, it's like its own thing. And yeah. But this is the ender. I'm going over Ecclesiastes 9 because again, this is talking about Sheol, like what happens when we die. So again, for the living know they will die, but the dead do not know anything, nor have they longer a reward, for the memory of them is forgotten. So their memory is forgotten, and the dead do not know anything again. That doesn't sound like someone who goes to heaven or hell. They are people. If you went somewhere when you died, you would remember. I don't think your memory is inherently wiped. Like that's not how it works. That's never how it's described. Like it's not described in the Bible. It's not really described anywhere in here. Again, the dead are asleep in Sheol. They don't remember anything. They don't do anything. For the living know they will die, but the dead do not know anything. So yeah. But then when you read in the KJV, it says, "For the living know that they shall die, but the dead do not know anything. Uh, Neither have they any more reward, for the memory of them is forgotten." So they say the same thing, because of course there's no Sheol here. So yeah, that's really what happens when you die. So again, there is no work in Sheol where you I'm butchering this verse, but where is it? Ecclesiastes 9:10. Oh, I was very close. Wow, it's right here. Oh yeah, oops, my bad. Whatever your hand finds to do, do with all your might, for there's no working or explaining or knowledge or wisdom in Sheol where you're going. So again, there's no working, explaining, or knowledge or wisdom. So again, you singing praises to God forever and ever if you were in heaven, that's a work. And you would still have knowledge and wisdom because you're in heaven. I mean, you should be made perfect at that point if you go. But yeah, that's what happens. And then in the KJV, whatsoever thy hand findeth to do, do with thy might, for there is no work, nor device, nor wisdom, nor knowledge in the grave, um, whither thou goest. So again, in the grave, even sometimes it does say grave, but again, it's very inconsistent. Like it's very inconsistent in the sense that basically most of the times that it says Sheol, it just says hell for really no reason. Like in it is Sheol. Like whether you like it or not, it's Sheol and Hades, not hell. It's not what it is, and no one is in hell. Hell is the lake of fire. So yeah, everyone will go there, or not everyone. All the unbelievers and unrighteous will go there when the resurrection of the unbelievers comes in after the millennia. So yeah, that's their own resurrection. But we get the resurrection of life. That's why when we die, we're in a temporal state until the resurrection with our bodies and, souls, that whole thing. I'm gonna go over the resurrection in another video, like one of these next videos, like hopefully, um, yeah, hopefully. But I kind of do have a planner, so let me see. I do have one saved, always saved, so that one I need to do. Then it was this one, so I kind of flipped it around. Then I have the rapture, funny enough. And then I have the resurrection, just so it kind of goes like in a good order. And then it'll be like after the resurrection will be the topic of hell. So yeah, that's kind of the plan. So yeah, this is it. I hope you guys did enjoy. I hope this whole thing makes sense. If it didn't, I'd love to talk about it also. If you have like objections to this, again, I'd love to talk about it because I really have like no problem like talking about these things. And course, no hate at all. Again, I do want to say this now that we're at the end. I have zero like animosity or like hate or like disdain or dislike for the KJV because I literally use it. I use it. Like if it's not the LSB, I use the KJV or the NKJV. It's just those three. Those are the only three I use. So am I still going to use the KJV? Yes, of course. But again, kind of like look look at it for what it is. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. I'm kind of finding trying to find the words to say about the KJV because again, I'm really trying to like make the point that I'm not like doing this to like be like, oh, the KJV sucks. Like, of course not. Again, it's a great translation. I use it a good amount. These two are the ones I use the most. So, am I gonna continue to use it? Yes, I will. But it's always good to check just to be sure. You know, just yeah, again, just to be sure that exactly reading like or you're not misunderstanding anything. So because this leads to misunderstanding, like the whole what happened with Jesus when he died. If you read it under the KJV view, he went to hell, which is and most people who believe that you go there when you die, they also believe eternal torture. So then you really could ask a good question, like why didn't he go to hell to suffer for our sins forever and ever? Because that should be the atonement for all sins, because that's where we should be going under their view. So, yeah, it would make perfect sense to ask that question. And I'm sure they have an answer for it because I don't think I'm the first one to ask that, but it's a perfectly reasonable question to ask. And under that view, it would make sense because of how they pan out like the afterlife, the intermediate state. But when we read through, the whole Bible, really everywhere like that we went over, Sheol is the realm of the dead, Hades is the realm of the dead as well. They mean the exact same thing. So yeah, you go there until the resurrection. Some to well, we can just go look John 5, healing, quality, two resurrections. See, there's literally two resurrections. So um okay, there you go. John 5, verse 28. Do not marvel at this, for an hour is coming in which all who are in the tombs will hear his voice and will come forth. Those who did the good deeds to a resurrection of life, and those who committed the evil deeds to a resurrection of judgment. So again, that's what's gonna happen while after we've been in Sheol and Jesus comes back. When he comes back, it's going to be these two resurrections. Or well, first the resurrection of life, and then after 1,000 years, millennia. However you want to interpret the millennia, if you want to think it's a literal 1,000 years or not. After that time period, then comes the resurrection of the unbelievers, where they are thrown into the lake of fire and they suffer the second death, where they are alive no more. And yeah, so that is it for today. I hope you guys did enjoy. And again, no hate to the KJV. I love the translation, but again, it's perfectly fine to make these kind of points and like make clear things up when it comes to these translations, because again, we don't. This isn't Greek or Hebrew, so it's not going to be the exact word for word. And the KJV, of course, isn't word for word. And the LSB, it is very, very good, but it's also not exactly word for word either. So, yeah, but I mean, they have gotten it right a lot from what I've read so far, and I've read a lot on this. So, yeah, really, I would recommend the LSB, like if you want to read, especially in modern English. KJV, very, ancient English. So, yeah, if you want to read a more modern English translation, read the LSB. Absolutely fantastic stuff. So, yeah, like and sub if you did enjoy, and God bless you all.